Bleacher Report, gang. What is up? I'm Kurt Benkert, and we are going to have a little Monday morning quarterback show, but we're going to be talking more than just quarterbacks today. We're going to be talking about the entire landscape of the NFL, and this show is going to be dedicated to predictions for the NFL season. I'm talking divisional winners, wild card teams, playoff runs, all of that stuff. I'm going to be looking to you guys in chat for feedback today. I want to hear it. I want to hear my good predictions, my bad predictions, and everything in between. I'm excited to see it roll out, and I'm really, really excited that the NFL is back. I know you guys are excited. We got fantasy football rolling. We've got everything that we need all across the board, and I think it's going to be a really good NFL season. Now, without further ado, we've got to talk about what last year looked like, okay? We had Super Bowl winning Eagles last year. We had the Chiefs obviously kind of fell apart in the Super Bowl. In my opinion, the Chiefs getting to the Super Bowl, they had a lot of things go their way. Their record probably was better than they were actually as a team, but they found their way in. They ended up playing against the Texans. They just barely beat the Bills, and they got throttled in the Super Bowl. This year is going to be a little bit different for them, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But when you look at the NFC side, you've got the Lions, who were the top dogs. You had the Eagles, who ended up winning it all. The Commanders, kind of a Cinderella story that fell short. The Rams, Matt Stafford almost took down the Eagles in the snow in Philly. It was crazy. That game came down to the wire. And there's some teams that are kind of floating around of, are they playoff teams? Are they not? But we'll get to that in this full episode. But today, we are going to be talking entirely about all of our predictions. And let's get right into it. We're going to start with the first prediction. Let's talk about the AFC East. Okay. This one, in my opinion, pretty simple to pick. Give me the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills are the team that is best suited to win the AFC East. Who else is out there? Well, you got the Dolphins, you got the Jets, you've got the Patriots, but I don't think any of those teams are as complete as the Bills are. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They have obviously weapons on offense. They've got a good offensive line, and their defense is pretty solid. They have been the beneficiaries of a pretty weak division over the past few years. Okay. But I want to talk about kind of their whole roster, what it looks like, and where their key players come from. So we got Josh Allen, 99 overall in Madden, obviously. Dog almost took them to the Super Bowl last year, and it came really close. We don't know. I think it was the tight end, had a dropped pass on fourth down. If he would have caught it, they might have won the game. Also, we had a QB sneak that maybe the laser pointer now this year, the automatic first down chain movers, we're going to know exactly where the ball is this year. There was a lot of weird stuff going on in the playoffs last year, but Josh Allen's back. They've got James Cook, who just signed a large deal. Khalil Shakir, who I think is going to be a pretty decent snag in fantasy football. He gets a lot of burn, especially in PPR leagues. And then Keon Coleman has been the talk of training camp for them. Josh Allen has a true X receiver in Keon Coleman. We've got to see him do it on Sundays consistently, but to have a guy that can win one-on-one tight press man coverage, I think he's going to be a nice safety blanket for Josh Allen. Not to mention, offensively, Deion Dawkins, complete dog, kind of anchors their offensive line, is the engine for that squad up there. They've been able to run the ball at a high clip, whether it be with the running backs or with Josh Allen, and I think this whole team runs through their offense. So when you look at their division, you've got the Dolphins, who kind of in question mark right now. What's the team look like? I don't know. You've got the Jets, who they're kind of rebuilding, new team, new coach, new quarterback, all that. And then you have the Patriots. Now, the Patriots are the ones who, in my opinion, could sneak up on the Bills as the season goes on. Drake May needs to take care of the football, but his ceiling is there. He can make plays. He's just got to be better in the fumble category, which from preseason, he still had the same issues. We'll see. But their defense, I think the Patriots' defense is going to be good, and I think their offense got some more weapons. So what's it up with the Bills? I know we just had the graphic up on who they play this year. They've got some key games down the stretch. Especially, I'm looking at that last part of the season where midway through they play the Chiefs, and at the very end they play the Eagles. There's going to be some pretty big playoff implications of where teams lay out and where they're slotted. And I think the Bills really need home field advantage. I think that the Bills have a better shot to go to the Super Bowl, which is probably obvious if everything runs through Buffalo. But I think they have the schedule set up to do that. So I would not be shocked to see the Bills have everything run through Buffalo by the time this season's all said and done, but they've got a good shot to make it to Super Bowl. But we're going to move to another division. And in my opinion, the AFC route is going to run through one of two teams. It's going to be either the Bills or it's going to be the Ravens in the AFC North. I think the Ravens in the AFC North have the most complete team in the NFL. Their offense really shot themselves in the foot in the playoffs, but nobody was really stopping them. They're the reason, in my opinion, why they didn't go the distance. Then you flip the script, okay? They've got their offense set. The receivers are starting to make plays. They're getting more pass happy, and they can also run it, obviously. Derrick Henry's still the king. Lamar Jackson's still the GOAT. But then you flip to the defensive side, and you see what they did on the defensive side. The Ravens, they're pretty stacked. They got Malachi Starks that they grabbed in the first. They got him in the first. They got Mike Green in the second, and Mike Green could potentially be Defensive Player of the Year or Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Ravens killed the draft, okay? But then you add in the other stars they have. They have Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, dudes that have gotten paid. I just think this Ravens team, it's going to be Ravens or Bills for me on the AFC. I'm just going to say that right now. But the Ravens have a complete team. It's going to all come down to how do they navigate each week? Do they have a good game plan? Do they show up? Do they take care of the football? If they just take care of the football and play efficiently, they should win every single game on their schedule. For real. And they're going to have some tough games here and there. Like they play Cincy twice. They play the Steelers twice. They play the Bills week 1. I think that the Ravens have what it takes to be the best team in the NFL this year. But let's flip back. They got the Bills week 1. They got the Lions week 3 and the Chiefs week 4. That's like their really, really tough stretch out the gate. And you know how the NFL is. If you start slow, it's kind of hard to get that momentum rolling. But I will say they are better than every team on their schedule right now, in my humblest of opinions. So we'll have to see how it pans out. But the Ravens, in my opinion, will win the AFC North. But then there's 2 other teams, the Steelers and the Bengals. Now, as you know, in the NFL, there's 3 wildcard teams. Would not be shocked to see 2 of those wildcard teams come from this division, the Steelers and the Bengals. And obviously, you've got to factor into, is there another team in the AFC South that has an easier schedule and they just rack up more wins, but they might not be better than the Bengals or the Steelers? Sometimes when you play in a stacked division, you don't get the benefit of the fact that you're a good team, you have a tough schedule, and you just happen to lose more games. So that's kind of how I look at the Steelers and Bengals, but I think both of them have a chance to make it to the playoffs. I think Joe Burrow. Let's start with the Steelers. The Steelers, when you look at them, okay, you've got Aaron Rodgers, you've got DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren just signed an extension, Jalen Ramsey was a nice pickup, and they got TJ Watt locked up. Aaron Rodgers is one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, might be number 1. The Steelers' defense is one of the best defenses historically over the past 10 years when it comes to winning games when efficient offense is being played. The Steelers are just going to be a tough team to play against this year. They could win any single game because they're going to be playing football the right way, in my opinion. They're going to run the ball. They're going to take care of the rock, be efficient on third downs, score points in the red zone. Their defense is going to make it really tough. They're just a tough matchup for anybody, no matter what. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a breath of fresh air there. I don't think he's going to have to win every single game on his own. And I just think that the Steelers' defense is still going to be a problem. And as long as TJ Watt's on the field, he's won so many games by himself. Not by himself, he's got a team, but TJ Watt has single-handedly destroyed games and won them for the Steelers, in my opinion. Now, can the impact players on offense score some points consistently to get the Steelers' defense to the point where they can just pin their ears back and play ball? I think they can, but it's going to be tough because that division is stacked and their schedule is kind of tough too. So Steelers looking at a wild card spot if they're going to make it to the playoffs, but I want to flip the script and go to the Bengals, who the Bengals, in my opinion, are going to be the next team that could potentially uproot the Ravens as the AFC North winner if the Ravens don't show up. And it's going to be offense heavy. They got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, which I believe accounts for the majority of their entire cap space of their team. Now they got Trey Hendrickson, right? Like kind of signed-ish, whatever, maybe trade, maybe not. We don't really know. Think he's going to be there, but it's a little uncomfortable. Taylor Britt's been somewhat of a bright spot for them on defense, but the rest of their defense is in a tough spot. Their defense is going to have to make plays, and their defense is going to have to be able to slow down shootouts because at this rate, the amount of money they've spent on offense is going to make it tough for them to just go dominate anybody. No matter what, the NFL is tough, and anybody can win any single week. And if you expect an offense to have to score 40 points every single week to win games, it's a tough recipe to be consistent. So that's why I have them on the wild card spot, but Ravens winning the North, Steelers and Bengals on the wild card. That's my first part of these predictions, along with the Bills winning their division. Now let's talk about the AFC South, and this one might shock some people. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars to win the AFC South. And in my opinion, this is going to come from that gap that Coach Cohen with the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be able to alleviate for Trevor Lawrence to get him to stop doing the weird stuff that he does sometimes. Trevor Lawrence sometimes will run out of bounds. Sometimes he will throw interceptions in the red zone. Sometimes he'll take sacks when he could just throw the ball away. Like, he does some weird stuff. But I think that Coach Cohen, Liam Cohen, who just came off of having Baker Mayfield have one of his best seasons in his career, maybe the best season in his career, is now going to be helping Trevor Lawrence do the same thing with weapons. Like, they've got weapons. And their defense, although they're not great, they've got some guys up front that can make plays. They got some defensive linemen that can make plays. I like Foye Oluwakin. Hopefully I said that right. Former teammate of mine. Don't really know how to say his last name, but Foye, middle linebacker, also a dog. But when you look at their offense, if Trevor Lawrence just cuts out the weird Trevor Lawrence stuff, he's got Brian Thomas Jr., he's got Tank, he's got ETN, he's got Travis Hunter, Strange at tight end, who they like. They can put up points in that division, in my opinion. And the Texans, already coming into the season banged up, already have a lot of question marks around their offensive line. I don't know if the Texans are built the same way that people think they are. I think their defense is going to be good. I think the offense has playmakers, but the Texans might be a little bit more suspect than people think. And I think the Jaguars are going to be able to take advantage of some teams on their schedule that are not as talented. And for once, the Jaguars might play up to their talent level because they have a coach that's competent enough to call the plays and get them there. So give me the Jags to win the AFC South. And let's move on to the AFC West, because this one might shock some people. There's one team, in my opinion, this season that is like a darling, a team that I think is going to overperform and shock some people. That's not necessarily like a bad team. Like, they're not like they shouldn't make the playoffs. I think they should. Let's talk about the AFC West. And I want to talk about the Denver Broncos. Okay? I think the Denver Broncos are going to win the AFC West and flip the division. I think that the Chiefs are still going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be a wild card team. But I think the Denver Broncos have the best defense in the league. Them or the Eagles, in my opinion. Maybe the Steelers. I think the Denver Broncos have the best defense in the league. They have one of the better offensive lines in the league. They have Bo Nix coming into year 2, who actually in the last 10 games of the season, Bo Nix was slinging it. He got the training wheels taken off of his bike and he was ready to ride. Then you got Cortland Sutton re-signed. You got Evan Ingram, absolute dog at tight end. You got J.K. Dobbins, who will help. But then we've got to talk about R.J. Harvey too, who that's a question mark for them at running back. I think R.J. Harvey could be the guy by the end of the year. But when you look at this team, got Bo Nix, got Dobbins, got Sutton, got Pat Surtain, who's arguably the best DB in the league, maybe top 4 for sure, top 3, maybe top 2, maybe 1, I don't know. And then Dre Greenlaw, who's an absolute savage, he's gonna anchor that middle linebacking group and be a force across the middle. He was a teammate of mine. He is not a guy you want to play against. He is an animal. But when you add all this into the fact that the Broncos were already pretty good last year, they went into Arrowhead and almost beat the Chiefs, and they had a field goal block from the 15-yard line. That's how they lost that game. I would not be shocked to see the Broncos, although it's a tough division to play in, win the AFC West and flip it on the Chiefs. I could also see the Broncos being the best team in the AFC. It's Bills, Ravens, Broncos for me, preseason. One of those 3 teams, in my opinion, best 3 in the league. Now you have the Chiefs, though. The Chiefs are not going to not make the playoffs, in my opinion. I think they're going to make it to a wild card in a really close AFC West battle, and they're not going to have to go get it out the mud. They have Rashee Rice, who is missing the first 6 games for sure due to his off-the-field issues. But you still have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And you have Travis Kelce, who's in good shape this year to start the season. They're going to win games, okay? Xavier Worthy, I think, is going to have a good year. They got Chris Jones and Karlaftis, who their D-line is solid. Their secondary can be good. They have a good defensive coordinator. They have a good scheme, but it's just going to be hard. Like, they're going to have to go find plays downfield on offense and not make these all be one-score games. Almost all their games last year were one-score games. The Chiefs, in my opinion, if they want to win the AFC West this year, are going to have to find a way to dominate, because it's really hard to win one-score games consistently over the course of time. Also, flyer here, I love Hollywood Brown. I think Hollywood Brown is going to be a nice guy to step up in respect to Rashee Rice as the season rolls. So watch Hollywood Brown in your fantasy lineups for the first few weeks. But I think the Chiefs are going to be a wild card team. And let's just talk about it. Top to bottom, AFC. My prediction for the AFC is as follows. We're going to have the Bills winning the AFC East. We're going to have the Ravens winning the AFC North. We're going to have the Jaguars winning the AFC South and the Broncos winning the AFC West. And our wild card teams will be the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. And that's how I see the AFC panning out right now. I know that we've got maybe the Texans who will give it a run for the money in the South. Some people are probably going to think the Chiefs are going to win the West, maybe even the Chargers. They're going to be a fringe team. For me, it was either Chargers or Steelers in the wild card. And that one's going to be close. But if you want to do Bills, Ravens, Jaguars, Broncos, Bengals, Steelers, Chiefs, and then my 2 flyer teams that it might be shuffling in and out of that, Texans, Chargers, I think that's a wrap for the AFC. I think that's what we're looking at as far as the slate goes. But let's go flip it. Let's go talk about the NFC because we have got to get down to it. Let's talk about the NFC East. You got to pick them. It's going to be the Eagles. The Eagles, in my opinion, are going to win the NFC East. And I think, although the Commanders are going to give them a run for their money again, I think the Eagles have the most dominant total team in the NFL, given their talent, okay? They have a nasty defensive line who can get pressure with 4, meaning they don't have to blitz a bunch of guys to get pressure. They have a really good offensive line. They got Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts is coming into his own. They've got Devonta Smith. They've got A.J. Brown. They've got a bunch of guys, okay? The Eagles won the Super Bowl handedly, and I think that on the NFC side, they're a step above everybody else, and I don't think it's necessarily close. Jalen Carter, absolute dog-a-D tackle, and Bond just freaking out. Absolutely freaking, going crazy last year and getting paid. I think the Eagles are the team to beat. But then you got the Commanders, who I think the Commanders are going to give them a run for their money. It's not going to be super easy, but I think the Commanders with Jaden Daniels have everything they need to continually be a playoff team and go see if they can make it happen in January and February. That's who I think the Commanders are. They got Jaden Daniels, just signed Scary Terry to an extension. They got Deebo Samuel in the offseason, who I think is a great addition for this team, and I think he's going to be a great fit for how they play offense with the Commanders. He's going to get the ball in space, and if anyone's ever seen Deebo is a problem in space. He was a teammate of mine when I was with the 49ers. He's impossible to tackle when he gets rolling. And I think when you get him space, he's going to get rolling a little bit easier. I don't think he ended up being a great fit as all things came to an end in San Francisco and how they were trying to use him. You got flying Frankie Louvu and you got Bobby Wagner still on the defense. I think you got a veteran core where you need it. You got young talent where you need it. I think they're going to be a good blend. So I really do like the Commanders. But it's going to be the Eagles to win the division. It's going to be the Commanders to make a wild card spot. Let's get to the NFC North because I've got some predictions here, especially after a blockbuster trade. Give me the Packers to win the NFC North. When you look at their team the past 2 years, they have overperformed and they've been the youngest team in the NFL. They still might be the youngest team in the NFL. Still might. But when you go and you add a guy like Micah Parsons into the mix, things change. And in my opinion, they did right. They traded away future picks. They paid the man. They had the cap space to do it. And in my opinion, they're playing within the window that they have right now. But they also drafted Matthew Golden. For the first time in maybe 20 years, the Packers drafted a receiver in the first round, and he was worth it. He can create space. He can make contested catches. And he's a big-time player, in my opinion. I think he's going to really show out with the Packers. Jordan Love is going to start the season healthy. Josh Jacobs, dog, love him this year. Love him in fantasy. They're going to run the rock, and he's going to get his red zone touches. And you got McKinney in the back end who, when you tied 2 and 2 together, McKinney had a bunch of interceptions last year, and they weren't really getting a whole lot of pressure up front. When you add Micah Parsons into the mix with Rashawn Gary on the opposite side, they will be able to get pressure with 4, meaning there's more coverage to be had, more errant throws, more fly balls. I love the Packers defense to be a turnover creating machine this year. And you give an efficient offense with a run game, a turnover heavy defense, and you've got a formula to win the NFC North and maybe even go on a Super Bowl run. But we've got to talk about the Lions because they're going to be a wild card team in my opinion. And look, they got the Lions, the Eagles, the Lions. They've got some teams they got to play, obviously, that are tough on their schedule, but I think they're going to win the division. And I think Micah Parsons puts them over the edge. Now let's flip it to the Lions because I think the Lions, look, they still have their identity. They still have their core players, but they lost guys that are important to them. Ben Johnson, they lost their defensive coordinator to the Jets. And they still got their guys. They've got Jared Goff. They got Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, got Kirby Joseph, Aiden Hutchinson comes back. I just don't know if they can sustain their style of play at the top dog level this year. I think they're going to have to get it out the mud a little bit more. And I think the teams are going to be not so afraid to bring it to them. I also think that Jared Goff was super, super helped by Ben Johnson. And no matter what you say, replacing one of the best offensive coordinators in the game is not easy. And sometimes it's tough, and sometimes there's a lag period. And I just don't think the Lions are going to dominate how they have the past 2 years. I think they're going to take a step back, and I think they're going to be a wild card team right behind the Packers. But we got to go to the South. Now, this division's tough for me. The NFC South is definitely tough. But I think in the NFC South, you've got to pick the Bucs to win the division. And I'm going to grab the Atlanta Falcons to make it to the wild card. And I think these two could be flipped. It's going to be a coin toss for me, but I would give the slight edge to the Bucs because they have a little bit more vet presence and a better experienced defense at this time. But this is a season to prove for the Falcons. We'll start with the Bucs. The Bucs have Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's coming off the best year in his career, but he's also getting a new offensive coordinator, new play caller. Okay, cool. We've seen that happen, and we've seen him still have success. He's got Bucky Irving, who burst onto the scene. Mike Evans coming into maybe his 10th or 11th year, I'm not sure. Got a defense that's got guys like Antoine Winfield, dog. Vita Vea, dog. They also got Emeka Egbuka. Hopefully I said that right. New receiver, drafted in the first round, I believe. I like their offense, and I think they're going to score points. It's going to be, does their defense stop teams as consistently? And how does Baker Mayfield react to pressure? Because Baker Mayfield's really good. I think he's a great quarterback. But the way to beat him is by blitzing him and by getting pressure with 4. Like, you've got to find a way to get him off the spot because he's going to hit his shots. So if you can get pressure on Baker Mayfield, then you have a chance. I think the Falcons, if you flip it, did add some depth on the other side of the ball to try to create a defense that can cause havoc. And I think the Falcons are a little bit more positioned this time around to compete. Their offense, on paper, Michael Penix Jr., I think, is going to throw for 4,500 yards. I think he's definitely throwing for 4,000. I love Bijan Robinson. I love Drake London. I like Kyle Pitts this year, actually. I do. And I think their defense added some depth. They got some DNs. They got a linebacker. Safety's coming back. AJ Terrell. Like, I think that the Falcons could put it all together this year and give the Bucs a run for their money. I really do. So we'll leave it at that. Give me the Bucs to win the division, the Falcons to give them a run for their money, still make the wild card, but we've got to go to one last spot. And this is where it gets weird. The NFC West. This one has a caveat. I think the Rams are going to win the division if Matthew Stafford is healthy. Like, and I mean healthy, not like gutting it out every game. If he does not stay healthy, I think that the 49ers run away with this division with their healthy team. But I think a healthy Stafford with the guys they have on their team, their offense, their D-line, they've got some stuff to them now. The Rams team is really complete if Matthew Stafford is healthy. So let's look at it. They've got Stafford, they've got Kyron Williams, they got Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and Jared Verse. They've got guys across the field that can make plays. It's all going to come down to, does Matthew Stafford, how's his back? And does he not take too many hits in the season? Because Lord knows that if Matthew Stafford has the ball in his hand and he's slinging it, he is really, really tough to stop, and he can put that ball anywhere on the field that he wants with a flick of a wrist. Now you got receivers that can get separation. Kyron Williams coming back and have another good year. Jared Verse, young D-end, could win Defensive Player of the Year this year. The Rams are going to be tough to play against, but they're going to have to beat the 49ers. They're going to have to handle that. They're going to have to handle the Seahawks, who in my opinion aren't going to be that bad. Like, I think the Seahawks are just a young and experienced team, and they're going to get better over time, so you can't sleep on them. And the Cardinals are getting better too. So this division is not going to be easy, but I think the Rams with a healthy Stafford do win the division. But let's recap it. Let's talk about the NFC. Seeing you guys rolling in chat. Thank you guys for being here. It's a lot of talking. The NFC predictions that I have for this season. I have the Eagles winning the East. I have the Packers winning the North. I have the Bucs winning the South and the Rams winning the West. And then my wild card teams are the Commanders, the Lions, and the Falcons. And then I want to add an asterisk here. I think two teams that could make a playoff push and maybe uproot the Falcons or maybe even the Rams are the 49ers. And I'm going to say it. And the Bears. I think the Bears could be a playoff team this year. I'll say that. But these are my predictions from top to bottom. AFC winner predictions. We got the Bills in the East, the Ravens in the North, the Jags in the South, the Broncos in the West. Our wildcard teams with the Bengals, Steelers, and Chiefs. Then on the flip side, we got the Eagles to win the East, the Packers to win the North, the Bucs in the South, the Rams in the West. And then we have the Commanders, Lions, and Falcons grabbing a wildcard spot. And this is how I picture the NFL playing out this season. I appreciate you guys for being here, man. What a great episode. We are back. We got NFL action on Thursday. First game of the year. We got Eagles, Cowboys. We've got games on Friday. We got college football running through. Then we got Sunday, Monday, all of it, man. I cannot wait for this season to get rolling. And we'll be live, same time, same place every Monday to talk quarterback performances, the weekend recap, setting the stage for the next week, all of it. Thank you guys so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it. You guys can catch me on Twitter, chatting it up. Go check out my YouTube channel. We got a lot of breakdowns and stuff in the way. I will catch you guys next time. It's another Monday morning quarterback session. Let's get it.